figured out what I want to do, and that was construction. I mean, I think for me, it's real tangible. I mean, you see exactly what you're doing. I mean, it's a real sense of satisfaction at the end of the day. Or at the end of a project, you can see what you've done, and that appealed to me. Always has, even as a kid. So, I've worked for a series of different companies, probably half and half, commercial and residential. So everything from small, kind of turnkey, building churches, small retail stuff, all the way to, I worked on an $800 million Department of Defense project in Washington, D.C., which was kind of neat. Also done a lot of residential, built a lot of houses, everything from, sort of production houses to multifamily to some really nice custom houses like for stockbrokers on Wall Street and stuff like that, which was kind of cool. And as far as that goes, as far as my background, I think working for the small companies, it was great because you really see the hands-on. I mean, you do everything. You're doing permits, you're running jobs, you're doing estimating. I mean, you do everything, which was a great experience for me. But then, as I kind of worked for a couple larger companies, I think that part is where I really, really kind of put it all together. I mean, you're exposed to these sophisticated companies. They have to be because they have such large, complicated projects, and so you really understand the benefit of processes and systems. I mean, they're a professional company. I mean, they run their business the way it should be run to make money and to provide the best product possible. And I think that's been a great education for me. Actually, one of the companies I work for in New Jersey, I was able to get a master's degree at it's a school in Hoboken, New Jersey. It's called Stevens Institute of Technology. It's an engineering school, really good engineering school. So, just by my association with the company I was working for, I was able to do that while going to school. So that was a huge benefit for me. So in my mind, it's kind of, as you look back on kind of where you got there, I see two things that kind of drive me. Those are passion and purpose. And passion is, you got to find something you really enjoy. And we spend so much time, at our profession to make money, to provide things for our family. But, if you're spending all this time at something you really don't like, that's not something I'm willing to do. I mean, I made that decision when I got out of the Army. I'm not willing to do that. And I've had some jobs where I was pretty successful, but, after a few years, you decide to move on because you thought you got all you got out of it. It's not fun. That's no way I want to live my life. And the other piece of that passion is purpose, and I kind of talked about that earlier. When I got out of the Army, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do something that gives me a sense of purpose. And it's kind of funny, look at my dad, he was involved in education for 20-something years, and he was so passionate about it, and it really, he made a difference. I mean, first person, and that's what I want out of my life, I think. When I say I made a difference. And for me, the purpose part of it is kind of the green building. And this is something I've been involved in for about 10 years, maybe 8 or 9 years, but in some aspect or another, whether it's energy efficient construction, whether it's actually a LEED project. I just came off of a huge Department of Defense LEED project. As I started to learn about these different things, it's a no-brainer to me. I don't know. It doesn't have to be some huge technology or money or things like that. It's in little ways that we can make a difference, and it's about the choices we make. Kind of that purpose. I've been lucky. There's a couple different organizations. One of them is called the U.S. Green Building Council. There's a few, kind of certification organizations out there, but this is probably the biggest one across the U.S. And it's called LEED. Is their kind of their standard. It's leadership and energy efficiency design, environmental energy design. Excuse me. But it's kind of a standard. It's a professional standard for experience and education. And it's one of the national standards, and that's something I was working on a project, and I'm a lead AP. Another one is there's a company called Building Performance Institute, and when it comes to energy efficiency, there's a couple different organizations as well, but basically they certify folks that are in the industry as far as making homes or commercial buildings more efficient. In particular, I got certified as I call it a building analyst. Basically, it's an energy audit. I'm sure we've all heard of energy audits, but there's a big difference when it talks to energy audits. I mean, there's kind of a cursory, and then there's something that's a really diagnostic tool, and that's kind of the thing I'm talking about, where you go in with equipment and you get real data. Before and after you do improvements. It's a tremendous tool, and that's something I made that commitment to get accredited. Again, to perform energy audits, but as a tool to really show real tangible differences. In general, I think something's different between some other companies I've seen out there. I guess let me back up here. Right now I focus on, my background is pretty wide, but I'm focused on residential renovation. Generally as it pertains to energy efficiency, but not just that. And I'm focused on that for a lot of reasons. First of all, I need to focus as a small company. I think in general the economy is at the point where renovation is a much better market right now. Obviously new construction has struggled for a few years now. And honestly, I think you can make a big difference. I mean, I think with some small changes, you can make a big difference in the amount of money that folks pay for an energy bill or the efficiency of their home or their business. some of the things that I think that make kind of my companies different is my wide array of experience. I mean, I think I can take some of these things that I've learned working for these large companies and you can apply them on a small scale. And not all of them necessarily pertain, but I think it really, having a system makes you so much more efficient. I mean, there's always other ways to do it, but it really makes the process more efficient, makes a lot better product. I think, in addition to that, I think applying green technologies, we're applicable. I mean, it's not always applicable. You provide folks options. You kind of explain, if there's an investment and kind of what kind of return it is, and then make decisions based on what's available. But I think providing options is always a good thing. The energy audit piece of it, I think, is very important to kind of my business too. Is I think you got to be able to show people real tangible, the results of if they're willing to invest in kind of what they're going to get out of it. And the last thing is. Maybe kind of different than a typical general contractor is there's an education piece to it, and that's fun. I mean, I think I have a lot of experience, hands-on experience in kind of some of these different technologies and products, and a lot of folks are not been exposed to it, or they have a kind of a preconception of kind of what green building is. It costs a lot of money, is their thought, and it's for folks that maybe they are kind of driven to do it, but maybe have a little more money than, the expendable money income. But that's not the case at all, actually. It's about value. I mean, ultimately, I want to leave the world better off for my kids, but ultimately it's about value. That's the bottom line. It's about if you're spending money, what are you going to get from it? And part of that piece is kind of, doing your part for the environment, but the main piece of it is about saving money. And in that case, it's a win-win because it's easy math. I mean, you can show folks, it makes a lot it makes a lot of sense. Kind of in conjunction with that education piece of it too, is I've started a blog and I'm trying to get out there. I mean, I think that's important, provide people information, and a lot of information about there about green building or construction is about some really complex project or technology in some other place that doesn't apply to us. And so kind of my blog is called Green Building for Everyone. What my idea is trying to bring in information where we can apply it, whether it's in our homes, our businesses. I mean, it's simple things like for example, the Energy Star program tells us to change out our light bulbs. Well, why? I mean, what's the difference? I mean, really, what different light bulbs are they? What different applications? Potentially, what's our savings? Give people that kind of information so they can apply it. Well, thank you for the opportunity.